Okay, we are live. Welcome back to the Draw Juice universe, the juiciest content, the juiciest art channel on YouTube, bar none. I am Chris Petracchi, aka Draw Juice, and sometimes the other way around. Welcome back, everybody. Please let me know in the comments that you're here, that you can hear me, that you can see me, and that all is well. Here's me. Hey, okay, from the control center in California. Welcome back. So tonight we're going to have a little lesson and continue our battle for creativity that we've been going through. We're still not done, but we're getting to the end. And then we're going to do some critiques. And before we get started, just wanted to just talk about the Discord server. I've got a brand new Discord. It's the Draw Juice Art Academy. I want you to sign up. If you're not signed up, I want you to join. It's a great community of artists, students, learning, supporting each other. There's tons of stuff where you can post your art, you can get feedback, tools and materials, NFT information. That's all brand new stuff, ideas and feedback. So there's a community hangout. So just wanted to make sure you know about that. Link is in the description. And then if you want to study with me or learn how to draw portraits, you can go over to Draw Juice and check out the boot camp, the mentorship, or the VIP. I've got a hair drawing tutorial, a creative heads tutorial, and a book, my book on my art journey. And there's tutorials in there step by step with regard to portraits, and there's my concept art and stuff in there. So there's a whole lot of fun stuff in there, and there's 7 modules in my course, and it is rock solid. You've got a technique. It's the scaffold concept. It's 7 steps, and I teach you each of the 7 steps of the scaffold method, and out you come the other end, drawing and painting, or just drawing much better than before. So let us get on with the show now. Who else is here? Let me check who's here. David Cox is here. Hi, David. Nice to see you. Nick says, I'm looking good. Thank you. You're looking good too, Nick. Can't see you. Yeah, but now you can see me, right? Okay. Checkmate. Nick. Yes, David. David Stocko. He's always here. David and David Cox and David Stocko. They're becoming my best online buddies. My best OLB. My BOLB. Okay? That's how it is. Mimika used to be my best online buddy, but she got a job working as an artist, so she's out of here. We miss her so much. Andre is here. Oh my gosh, he's here. He's just here in this time, in this place. That's a beautiful thing. So welcome, Andre. I can't say your last name because there's a lot of consonants there. We need some vowel sounds too, but I'll try. Andre Vychodstiev. Okay, I think I got it. Yeah, the Bobs. We're all Bobs here. Okay, it's the Bob. Bob Baran. The Bobs are ran. Bobs are oh. Okay. So here we are. And I'm thinking all is well. So I've got this design, The Battle for Creativity, which is a little book that I put together. It's not on my website. I should put it up there so you guys can get it, right? Because this is the bomb. This is what I learned while I was out there working as a concept artist. And I still use these concepts today. And they're all condensed in this document. And And that's what we're going through. But they don't teach you this stuff in school. And that's why I'm here, to give you the juice so that your drawings get better and you juice up your drawings and juice up some other people when they see your drawings and they get all excited about it. So I'm grateful. Put in the chat what you're grateful for. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful that I had enough education to open the doors of opportunity for me. I'm grateful that I'm living here. Yeah, I'm grateful I had parents, and that I'm healthy enough to do this online broadcast with you guys and reach out to the community. Just not that long ago, this was non-existent, and it's such an amazing thing to be able to take our art in these directions, and so I'm grateful for that. It's 3 a.m. for Andre. Andre, where are you from? Are you in Russia? Just tell me the truth, okay? Don't tell me you're in San Diego or Texas. Tell me the real truth of your location, okay? Let's see. I want to talk about the design battle, knowing your allies. Look at that. Oops, I skipped ahead. I want to go to my little wonderful thing here. Can I? Where's my wonderful thing? Okay, I'm going to get my wonderful thing out. There it is. Okay. The design battle. Boom. You got to know your allies, because you've got enemies and friends in the design battle. You got to know you're in a battle, first of all, right? The minute you want to create something, the minute you want to reach for a goal that you've created and you're shooting for it, something's going to get in your way. There's going to be obstacles. It doesn't matter what you're doing, what your field is, what your goal is. That's just a fact. So this is a universal wrench, so to speak. It works for all situations in terms of the battle, the enemies, and the allies. So we're at the allies, and one of the allies is the camera angle. When you're creating visual art, the camera angle really has a lot to do with emotion. And action and information, plus info and storytelling. So let's break it down. So the point of view can help you sell your design and idea, as well as make your design look more or less dynamic. That's the action part, right? So we're going to get into that a little bit here. So sell your idea. Don't you have to sell it, right? Whether you're selling products or you're making a movie, you have to sell that shot. You have to sell that product. You have to show it and tell it in a way that's clear, that people can understand. Andre says, I live in Slovenia, but used to live in Russia some years ago. Awesome. Welcome. That's so amazing that you're here listening to me. I hope you're doing very well, and thanks for coming by. You're part of the Bobs, the best online boyfriends. What was it? Bob's best online. Okay, whatever. Somebody please remind me. Okay. So you've got to sell this stuff, right? Because you want to tell a story, or you want to make some money. You have a client, you have some product, you have a movie. So you've got to do storyboards, you've got to do animation, all that stuff. You've got to do illustration. That has to be clear. Okay, let's look at the camera angle. So a high camera angle and low camera angle. The high camera angle is a bird's eye view, right? So you're high up in the sky looking down. That's a bird's eye view. So the camera is high and looking down. That'll tend to make an object look small and vulnerable, okay? While a low camera angle or a worm's eye view, here's the worm, Okay, he's on the ground, he's looking up. That is going to make something look strong, aggressive, and imposing, right? So you've got worm's eye view, you've got bird's eye view. The worm's eye view is a low camera angle. Bird's eye view is a high camera angle, okay? It can be a little confusing to think about that stuff. Like low is looking up and high is looking down, okay? So it's a little bit inverse proportion. So as we advance through this here, let's look at the high camera angle, okay? Obviously, we can see this character looks small and looks vulnerable. Reinforcing this idea are these vanishing points, that are going to a vanishing point, sort of meeting where she is. The sides of the wall give that feeling, right, that the walls are caving in and we're looking very much down into extreme high camera angle looking down. So that's how you would depict someone if you want them to look vulnerable, afraid, weak, and small. So if you start thinking of your favorite movie, your favorite action film, your favorite science fiction movie or thriller, start noticing the camera angles and start noticing when they use certain angles to convey what in the scene, in the sequence, okay? Every scene or every sequence, let's say, has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And you'll go through that and you put a bunch of scenes together and they make a sequence telling a story. Now, let's look at the low angle, the worm's eye view. Here's the worm down here. He's looking up. And you can see it's kind of the opposite. All these lines converge, to this vanishing point up here. Okay, so they're not quite converging at his head, but they're all coming up here somewhere. Okay, so it's opposite from the high camera angle. The low camera angle is looking up, and this guy looks like a superhero, right? He's either a hero or he's a villain, evil or good, powerful. So just keep writing. He's powerful. So he can be powerful with good powers or bad powers. It's up to the storyteller. And you can kind of see, if we just take this idea here and really break it down. I wonder if I can just do my I want to do my white background for a second. With the low camera angle, notice that on the figure, you're going to have these partial ellipses that you're going to be looking at. The bottom of the curve is closer to you than the ends, okay? So they're wrapping around this tube is a very basic idea, okay? Now in the high camera angle, it's the other way around. Oops, I drew that wrong. That way, right? Notice how the curve of the ellipse is farther away from you than the ends that are wrapping around. So the sort of apex of the curve, or the high part of the curve, right? So that's how you convey something is going away from you and really big. You've got a really big ellipse here, really small one here. Here you've got the really big ellipse at the top and the smaller one at the bottom, so it's just the inverse, and you can get that effect. So if I go back to this, and right, this is a very complex figure, but it's basically a tube, and the pants, right, are wrapping around. The wrinkles on his legs are wrapping around. Okay, so everything, the wrinkles, the clothes, right, the gloves, you can use them as an excuse to describe the figure in space, even the muscles, rib cage, chest. Okay, they're all that tube with the partial cylinders, apex of the curve farther away from you. Okay, as it wraps around. This little gal here is a different kind of tube, right? It's more like this, and the highest part of the curve is further away. So that's just, you know, that can be confusing, that illusion, and so I wanted to point that out. It's that part of the curve that's either closest to you or further away is going to make an object look like it's moving away from you or going toward you, or sort of in the foreground and moving away, you know, that kind of stuff. So you got to get used to drawing simple tubes and simple shapes, and then you can go for the complex anatomy and figures and all that stuff. Okay, that's how I like to do it, kind of build on simple ideas and then make complex ideas out of it. So going back to here, and I wanted to get to my, yeah, here. If you have, you know, a scene, the camera angle, right? If you have, you know, a shot that's pretty neutral, like this, and you see a house like that, okay, that's a neutral shot. But then if you turn the camera and you create this kind of thing, that's called a Dutch camera angle in the movie business. Okay, and that camera angle, rotating the camera, creates a diagonal through here, and so that creates movement. Okay, this one doesn't really do too much movement here, but as soon as you put diagonals going through, doesn't matter what it is, it could be a car, it could be a landscape, right, it could be a figure cutting through here, the diagonal equals movement in an abstract way, right? The horizontal and the vertical are pretty stable and passive, but the diagonals communicate movement and action. So just another thing to think about. Okay, Andre, you have a good sleep. Take care. God bless. Love that, Andre. Andre, are you still here though? Because I'm gonna look at your drawing tonight, you know, but you can watch it later. Okay. So I think that's it for that. We got that. Tapered shapes, wide into narrow. Maybe we won't do this one right now. We'll go into the crit. What time is it? Where's my assistant? 7:20. Well, what do you guys want to do? Let me know in the chat what you want to do. Well, since we're here, we can talk about tapered shapes. This is another one of your allies. Tapered shapes are basically wide into narrow shapes, okay? Kind of tapered, triangular. Triangles are tapered, right? So Contrasting shapes are important because they create variety, and variety creates interest. Remember that. Visual variety creates interest. Everything the same creates a sense of order and perhaps peace, but it's sort of boredom too. So you want a bit of contrasting in your shapes. So don't make boring shapes, and don't make all the shapes the same. You also want to have, right, variation and contrast occur all around us in nature. Big into small, thick into thin shapes are both more interesting and more natural. Okay, so one of the things that says to me is, oh, back on. Bumber. Okay, I'm back. I'm back in the saddle again. Yep, I hit a key command that started OBS and stopped it. Good job. Oh my God. Okay, so some of my apps, like the one that I'm doing the whiteboard on, to engage that, that key command is the one that's turning on and off OBS. Oh my God. Okay, so I think I'm back, and you guys let me know if you can hear me. You need music. You need some music. Okay, I'm back. So where was I? Where did I miss you guys? I'm talking about tapered shapes. And I don't know when I turn this thing off. Okay. So the rule in nature is don't use parallel lines. Okay, so no parallel lines. This arm here doesn't look as good as the arm on the right, because parallel versus asymmetry. So you've got kind of like symmetry versus asymmetry. And what I'm doing is I'm using some variety, right? Even if I did this for the arm, you know, that looks a little better than this, right? Because it has tapered shapes. But this doesn't look as good as this, because here I'm using the asymmetry in the form of C curves, right, that move through here. So it's, I'm kind of, okay, does that make sense? There's some asymmetry here. Instead of this, I've got this, right? So it kind of goes this way and that way, and that looks better. It looks more like nature, and it creates movement. So I don't know, did you guys hear the part where I talked about what did I talk about? I talked about if you have equal distances. So in nature, you know, if something is kind of man-made, you have these equal parts, right? Like machine-made. But in nature, things are more like this. Right? So you have big, small, medium, small, instead of just all one-dimensional. So let me know in the chat if you heard me talk about that. Because I talked about it in terms of a torso, I drew a torso. Did you guys get that? And that is too bad because that was good stuff. But real quickly, if I draw a torso, okay, of a guy here, and I have equal breakup of the volumes. So you've got this latissimus dorsi, you've got this external oblique, you've got the compression, you've got the gluteus maximus. If those are all kind of the same distance, and then you have the shoulder, and over here you've got pectoralis major is the same distance to the rib cage, and it's the same distance to the next thing and the next thing. If you have these things equally broken up, it just looks like a snowman, the Michelin Man. Nature is not like that. So things are a lot more asymmetrical, and it looks better if the stuff you've use a variety in here and don't have everything from here to here is the same, here to here is the same height, there to there is the same height. Okay, so it just doesn't look natural if you have an arm or you have a leg here, and you kind of start to put stuff on it. It looks like stripes. You'll know when it doesn't look right, and sometimes it's because of that, because you've got your proportions are too much the same with the anatomy. Okay, hope that makes sense. Anyway, so let's move on. Okay, you didn't see the torso demo, just did it, and I hope that's helpful. Okay, so I want to go back to this. Okay, now let's go on to the crit here. So I'm going to turn on my iPad. And get my windows kind of collected here so I can see you guys in the chat. Okay. So now we had some great entries tonight. So I just wanted to go ahead and talk about some of these ones that were just really great. They really stood out. Cypress did this one. He did a study of Fallen Angel by Alexander Cavanaugh. I'd never heard of Alexander Cavanaugh, but it looks like the Sistine Chapel ceiling kind of Michelangelo painting. Amazing. Cypress, you did a great job. It's killer. It's awesome. You are a madman. You've got your values down in your shapes and your line quality, your sense of drama, edges. So all of it, shapes, values, edges, lighting, those are all kind of the basics of the elements of design. If you don't know the elements of design, memorize them. So you have a line, shape, form, value, lighting, texture, and movement. There's something like that. There's about 7 or 8 of them. And so that is something I think you should get familiar with and try to memorize it, because it'll come up more often than not as something to help you solve problems and make more striking images. Sometimes it's just not detail at all that you're struggling with, but it's something else about composition, or a combination of the elements of design that's the problem. So David's saying, yes, it makes sense. Also use a curve and try to find a corner whenever I can. Okay, yeah, curves and corners. David, I mean, when I have a curve, I try to draw a corner. Yeah, I get it. Right? Variety, curves and corners, straights against curves. David also says, as a charcoal lover, this is really nice work. Yeah, totally. So that's awesome. I just want to kind of highlight these ones up front here. Next one, David Cox. David, I know you're here. This is amazing. Really nailed it. You know, when you nail it, there's nothing much to say, right? The work speaks for itself. You just enjoy it. From everything, from the tilt, the gesture of the head, the shape of the head, the shape of the hair, the shapes, values, edges, line quality. All you see is a person. You see light revealing form. That's what I see. And I don't question it. You've given it to me. You've hit me over the head with it in a good way, and I don't question it. And so it's a pleasing thing. There's no dissonance there causing me to go, what, you know, what's that, or what is, you know, slightly off with it. There's nothing like that. And the technique, the way you put it down, is beautiful. You understand the medium, you understand your touch, you understand the paper, and you have experience now that's on that level of proficient and professional. Okay, so good for you. I'm so happy to see that kind of progress. And maybe you had this before you came into my class or into the group. I'm not sure, but I'm sure liking what you're doing, you know, and hoping that my course has helped you. So let's move on to the third one, Chavi. Chavi, I saw Chavi in the Discord today. Everybody get into the Discord, okay? It's awesome. Yeah, so this is really nice. I just wanted to see if there was, okay. So yeah, digging it. Colors are beautiful. I think the lighting also is wonderful, and then the hands are in there. That's tough. Hands are tough. I'm not sure why you did like a light background, because the light, you know, against the light, that lack of contrast, it doesn't make her pop out from the background or separate from the background. So, you know, it looks good though. It looks cool. I think that sense of lighting, you know, on her forehead, like it's a little washed out, in the sense that, you know, I see more of a plane here on this one. And where's my wonderful, just gonna try and find it. Okay, you know, I see more of a plane here. Oh, that's not good. What's up with that? Just give me a regular drawing thing. Inking. Syrup. Let's try syrup. I see this plane right here. Bang. Right? And so that's part of the plane head. It's part of the description that says this is the front top plane of the kind of the orbital bone and the zygoma, and then here's the front, right? front, side, etc. So I'm not seeing that here. I'm kind of seeing it just indistinctly fall as a rounder thing. And so sometimes on like young babies and pretty girls, right, going ahead and bringing in that planar information, so it has a top, a side, a bottom, is helpful because there's not a lot of structure there, and so you need to bring some in, like you did a good job here. Side plane of the nose, top of the nose, right? Side plane down to the front, and then again, kind of where is the side of the plane of the cheek? Where does that start? Where does it stop? On her, it's pretty obvious. It's following that plane head, the very primitive plane head that we always study. It's just showing off right there, there. So you can go ahead and show those things a little bit more. Bottom plane of the nose, right? And that's where you put the value, right? You kind of you don't know the planes of the nose, and so that's why you didn't put it there. It's either that or you haven't seen the values to the level that you need to yet to describe this a little bit more clearly, right? And thinking about the light direction, if the light is coming from where, I don't know, it's coming from the top left, kind of top leftish front, I don't know. Hard lighting, I do see a rim light, camera right, but yeah, it's kind of from the top front-ish. Okay, so that means anything facing the camera is going to get light, and anything moving away from it like this is going to be in shadow, and anything where the light's getting blocked and you got that really good, that's going to be an occlusion. It's occluded, it's blocked. Okay, and so let me see, this plane here, right? Just go ahead, that explains, right, that rim light coming here, it's also hitting the nose right there, and so you got that, but then right next to it is this darker plane that's not catching the light. So those descriptions in terms of values and planes are the next thing that you could go to, but the colors, the shapes, proportions are really good, chubby, and the hair's nice, and it's beautiful. You got the nice gesture of the head, and that looks believable, and I'm liking that. Something about the lips that you can just kind of make them a shape. You can make them a shape a little more. Kind of get the shape and the value, and then you don't have to do really hard lines around lips. Make those a little more minimal, a little less obvious. This is a bad job, but it's kind of like a shape, and then you're going to go with a little bit darker inside, at the corners, and then maybe the opening here you can have a little thing, but don't need to do like a line across too much. Or if you do, then really show that that upper lip is in a different orientation to the light. It's not catching the light. And the lower lip is, right? And, okay. So that is kind of what I wanted to say. Let me see. You know, the edges can be blurry on lips. Certain parts of the edges are blurry, and certain are crisp. Certain parts are crisp. Like that part by the philtrum, a lot of times that's really crisp. But then the two wings, they can be soft. They can just really not be there. Let me try if I can see if I can get like a really nice smudge here. I don't know if I can. Where's my smudge? How about just an eraser? A soft blend. Okay. So like over here, they can be really, really soft. So just a little bit variety of edges here and there. And just go with a little darker value down here. Because there's a top plane and a bottom plane on the lip. So I'm not trying to make this a pretty picture, I'm just trying to show you how the values work to give you dimension. I don't want to get into repainting this, so let's move on. Let us move on. Okay. All right, this one here. Andre, he was here. He had to go to sleep. Just gotta put on my glove thing so I don't accidentally hit the screen and move this on my iPad. Okay, Andre, looking good. This one looks really nice. Lots of good detail. You know, the local value is creating contrast, meaning the contrast of the light of the skin and the dark of the hat is creating separation, but it's not describing form with value. So you've really kind of didn't go into describing value in the face, and the face is pretty middle dark, but you're interpreting it as it's being hit with bright light. You did a nice job on the nose. The nose looks good. That cheek next to that nose looks really good. Mouth and beard, again, local value. But like describing the form, it's hard in this one because the lighting and the photo itself is kind of diffuse light. It's bouncing all around, and his face is in shadow, except for that left cheek. So it's a little hard for this one, and it's kind of blurry. So not the best photo, but you did a great job with it. I like the proportions, features, the connections. These are getting a lot better. So I'm giving you the big approved. Boom. Yes. So where you can improve is in your values. Go ahead and push into the darks a little bit, like you did with the shadow of the hat and the beard, but use it not to just color something in, but to describe form, planes, and the relationship between planes and value, connecting those and making them describe form. It's a beautiful, miraculous thing. Okay, so very good, Andre. Thanks for coming, and I'm excited to see your progress. Okay, let's go to this one. All right. Oops. So I'm not sure who did this one, but it's cool. I love tone paper, and I love the kind of the sanguine chalk or colored pencil, you know, new pastel, whatever it is. It's cool stuff. I would say watch your line quality. Okay, so line quality with these kind of materials now, a chalk pastel or a new pastel, things are going to get your tools are going to become, especially, okay, your pencil or your hunk of charcoal or your block of new pastel, it's going to get worn down really quick because these are softer materials, and so your edges are going to start to look all the same because you have a softer and softer edge of your pencil. So it's kind of going from something like this, if you have a pencil, or if you have like a block of new pastel or something, it's going to start to, like, your pencil's going to get more like a nub, right? Like a stub. And this stuff is going to wear, the edges are going to all bevel and wear down. So you have to have some sandpaper there, you know, to kind of rub it against there and keep these things sharp. So I'm kind of seeing, you know, a little bit of a sameness of line. The other thing is you have to work at scale. So if you're working on a small piece of paper, right, and you have a big tool, it's going to be hard to get the amount of detail you want from that stick or that chunk, right? You're not going to be able to get into the eye to draw the eyelashes or that nose hole, right? Makes sense? So if you have a tool like this, draw bigger on a bigger piece of paper. If you have a smaller piece of paper, then use a pencil, you know, a colored pencil or a Conte pencil, something you can sharpen down to a really fine point and keep it sharp. Okay, that's the key to that. So it's gonna help you with the variety of edges you need to get, like the cast shadow on this nose and the bridge of the nose. This stuff needs to be more separated out, more variety. It needs to be more crisp on that cast shadow and a little softer here. So this looks the same as that, looks kind of the same as this and this, right? And this, the edges are all the same. So you need to change up the edges. Hard, soft, lost. Okay, hard, soft, and lost. Now where you really are doing great is in these wide open areas where you're doing beautifully in that forehead, just turning it, and the way you put down the medium is beautiful. That takes a lot of knowledge with your hand-eye coordination, your understanding of the medium, to be able to do that. That's tricky. A lot of people struggle with that. Okay, right here, wonderful. Love that. Right here, got a little harder. It's one of those funky areas that the side plane of the nose, where it starts and stops. And then all this simplification in here, I think is great. The way you simplified that, beautiful. Maybe not so much of these wrinkly guys in here, and they're all Okay, you kind of violated that principle in nature where everything's equal, right, in these compression folds. And they're parallel. They're kind of equal in proportion and parallel. Try not to do that. Try to vary those things up so they don't attract attention, because that will attract the viewer's attention. Okay, so I think you know what I mean there. If I was to try and, you know, smudge this out a little bit and have maybe one of them, you know, one of them could be the major one. That could, you know, that could work. Go back to my charcoal stuff, and then not light enough. And if you're not sure, or it's attracting too much attention, just play it down, right? Just mute it down a little bit. And that could help, right? If you're not sure, just kind of play it down. But so that's what I have to say about that. Lovely proportions, lovely gaze. The features look good, but they're, you know, could be a little bit better in terms of how things fit. And I'm going to turn this layer, turn that layer off. And so how things fit, how do you make them fit? Well, you need to know the planes. And that eye is going to be, you know, if that's your nose, the eye is not going to start right there. If that's the side plane of the nose, it's going to start more in here, right? So you have to give it some room to be in there. So that tear duct, you got to give it some room. You know, it's too close right here. Give it some space to breathe, you know. And then it's gonna look more convincing. I don't know if this was a good, clear enough explanation. Smooth. Let me see, smooth. Sometimes on these diagram drawings, it's not good to use natural media looking stuff, you know. Anyway, so there's the glabella and the keystone. You got your nose, side plane, and then you have the eyeball in there. Okay. That's supposed to be that's supposed to be the bag of the eye right there. Ooh. Okay. And then same thing on the other side, you know, you have to make there be enough room so that eyeball is being overlapped by the nose, right? Just go ahead and draw through, and then wrap the eyelid around, and make everything kind of connect, and make sure, you know, it makes sense and all that stuff. Okay, so beautiful job. Keep going. And I love the tone paper and how you added white. Make sure your white doesn't mix with the dark, because it'll get a little gnarly. It won't look right. So use the tone of the paper to be your middle value, right? Tone of the paper, mid value. And so if I have a tube here, and I give it a nice dark. Let me do that on the toned paper. Duh. Okay, let me blow this up. So if I have a nice tube, and then it's got a core shadow and a shadow. Right, if I take the white and I go right up to the edge, then it almost looks like it's not round anymore, because the edge is not a gradation. It's just light meeting up to dark. Plus the medium will start to look funny with actual natural media like this, especially if you're using graphite. So what you want to do is add the light and then let the paper be kind of like the mid-tone. Make sense? So leave a little gap there. I hope that makes sense. Use the paper. Let it be useful to you as your mid-tone. And that's part of the fun of working this way. Right, so just putting the right value with the right shape can really get the illusion going. All right, moving on here. Okay, so let's see. Oh, Andre's still here. I thought you were going to bed. I couldn't sleep. Okay. You guys are chatting away over there. What paper? I don't know. Are you talking about the last one? I don't know what this is. Could be a Canson Me-Tense paper. Not really sure. All right. So in this one, I would say that the lines are a little too obvious, right? And so you have this kind of a little too heavily weighted, relying upon your lines to kind of make an outline out of everything. And that's kind of good for a block-in, but it's not the best for representational drawing, like trying to make something look real and, you know, or somewhat real. And so I think what you want to do is use tone. So you've got to kind of wean yourself off the line and get into tone. And so if you're a line person, that can be a little bit scary, right? And so, you know, drawing a line, a one-dimensional line around the eye, and then the crease of the eyelid, you know, these kind of one-dimensional lines without a lot of variety is like you're drawing on the tip of your pencil. And so you need to use the shoulder of the pencil as well. Otherwise it's going to look a little cut out. And the human face is subtle and it needs tone. There's certain areas where it is like there are hard edges, like in the hair, the local value of the hair against the local value of the skin creates a hard border. There's a hard border there. And so you can go ahead and use a line and make it very obvious. But the eyebrows the same way. But in other areas, like the sideburn, the cheek, right, the crease on the cheek, there's different varieties of edges, just a couple, and different, variety in the value that's describing the form as it's moving away from the light. It goes darker. So, if you're combining your line with a knowledge of planes and values, then you can go ahead and kind of compare this photo to the plane head, to a generic plane head. And every head is pretty much the same. All the planes, you have a front, two sides, a top and a bottom. And so there's not going to be any surprises there. You're going to be able to know that this area right here, why it's doing that, why it's dark here on the side and on the front. So the light's coming from the front, and everything not in the front is being pushed back by a tone, right? So you can see those things, identify them, and then communicate them in your drawing with values. So it's not rocket science. It really isn't. It's not that hard. You just need repeated exposure to it. You need someone telling it to you over and over until you get it. All right? The 25th time, the 30th time, until the light goes on, And that's all it is. Kind of getting the right information in your hands and then hearing it enough times until you become, competent at doing it consistently. So that's conscious competence right there. So that group of eyelashes, is kind of more of a shape. Than it is a bunch of hairs. So I just try to unify my darks. And just go real light and build up to things. Using, the side. Use the side of your pencil, called the shoulder of the pencil. And you need to sharpen your pencil long enough to do it. So in my course, I have a little tutorial on how to sharpen a pencil, with a blade and exposing the lead, so that you can tilt your pencil, like, instead of like this, you tilt it and hold it overhand like that, and then you get that shoulder of the pencil instead of the tip, and you get a broader stroke. So it can be like, you can put in this hair with these nice big strokes, Let me just make that smaller as if it was a pencil, And you can put in these beautiful, smooth, kind of buttery, still too big for this, values and strokes that fill in your darks, but the technique looks good. And stuff like that. This could be darker. Know what I mean? Now that's not the way we're used to drawing with a pencil. So it's going to be weird at first to do that. um, to hold the pencil different, to shape it different. But if you want to do, portrait drawing, you want to do any kind of drawing, some of those advanced things are what you're going to want to be shooting for. So yeah. So I'm just looking at shapes, kind of looking at values, looking at what kind of edge is there, and then going around and making it like that, And it takes some time. This is a patience game. You need a lot of patience to be an artist, right? And so on and so forth. Let's see. So it would take a little while to build this up and make it look like it needs to. To get all the elements kind of working together. The other thing you got caught up in is too many details. You don't need the hair, eyelashes, pupils. You don't need that stuff yet. You don't need the teeth, in a mouth. You don't need individual teeth. Okay, don't do that. Okay. Just look at the shape and the value, and you'll be in a better spot. Okay. All right, let's move on. I think we got one more. Okay. Let's see here. Let me check the chat here. Chavi. Hey, Chavi, what's going on? Andrew, you've improved a lot. Yes. Steve F. Okay, talking about Strathmore paper, 400 series. Toned tan. Okay. Medium tooth. Excellent. Thank you, Steve. Okay, now this one, similar thing as the last one, but it's cool. We can talk about design here, because one of the ways you can change things up and vary it from representational drawing is to change the proportions. So you can see the details look great, the rendering looks really good, and yet the shape of the head, the neck, and the shoulders are different. So there's different choices made here. I'm not sure if they're made intentionally. So if we're talking about proportion, those things are off. But if we're talking about design, that looks cool, right? There's a kind of an emotional quality to this drawing, right? Because all the parts look good. The rendering looks good. The material indication looks good, right? The hair looks like hair. The glassy eye looks watery. The nose looks like skin. The cheeks look like skin. And yet kind of there's this one-dimensional line around the jaw and the neck and the shoulders, but it's in contrast with some of this other, the value rendering, the detail in the hair, that makes it okay. There's enough variety there that makes it fun. So like the subtle shading on the neck as opposed to that hard edge, right, on the right side of the face. Those are nice, contrasty. The eye likes the variety. So I really like this one from a shape and proportion point of view, and then you've imbued it with nice details and that kind of obey the rules of lighting, and so that's all good. So kind of at first glance it looks awkward, right? It looks kind of like, okay, this person doesn't understand proportion. But I'm just wondering if they did that by choice. I'm not sure who this person is, but it's got aspects of realistic rendering, like in the eyes, nose, hair, and design. Okay, so there you go. Maybe that I'm just going to leave that one like it is and go with it as a quirky kind of illustration, right? So when you get into illustration and you start making, you have clients that need an article for a magazine, and maybe it's about teens and how awkward teen years are, or some other issue, or maybe it's a story about a family. And so you kind of can play with that. You can start to stylize things, and you can use flat shapes against rendered, right? So the face is kind of flat in the cheek, but the hair is rendered, and so flat against rendered, right? Forms against flat shapes. So curves against corners, right? The shoulders are like corners, and the cheeks are like curves, right? I don't know. I like it, and I'm getting tired. So maybe we can end there. What do you say? I guess I say that was good. So I'm gonna go back to this. We're gonna finish this up soon, I promise. And if you guys, hey man, it was great to have you here. If you liked the content, make sure to just like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Leave a comment. If you guys wouldn't mind leaving a comment too, jump out of the chat and comment. That helps the algorithm and pushes it out there. And I'm just so blessed to be here. I hope that was all helpful. Little tired tonight, but I think we got it. I think we had a good session. Join the Discord. Link will be in the description. And head over to Draw Juice too if you want to study with me, or just take the boot camp course with the lessons only. All right, guys. So I'm gonna say good night, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and we will see you next time. I am over and out. Ciao.